And I'm the strategic director for training and technology at the Water Tower. I want to kind of go through real quick and just tell you about the Water Tower, tell you who we are, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about wastewater treatment, just very briefly. But I'm going to tie that into kind of the science aspect of things, and then I've got a short video on doing a sample dilution. So from one of the laboratory procedures that are done in the lab, multiple times a day, every day of the week. A lot of times we have to do a dilution for that. So just a very short kind of tutorial on a simple sample dilution, just to kind of tie things in a little bit. So the water tower, we're actually a small non-for-profit as well. And I am one of 5 people. So we kind of started as a seed from the Gwinnett County Department of Water Resources. And essentially we are in the process of building our building. It's under construction now. It will be completed in February of 2022. So we're very excited about that. Just a little less than a year away. If you're familiar with North Georgia, Beaufort area, we are situated in between Interstate 85 and 985, kind of in that V there. So this is kind of like a little area view of what our site is going to look like. A little bit closer in, we have a field training center that we're putting in so that we can do hands-on physical training. And then our actual innovation center here, where we'll have a state-of-the-art lab, conference space, some co-working space, and then we also have some out parcels here that are available for like water industries to come in and kind of bring their businesses on site. And our idea is to kind of have this whole area have that campus feel and essentially be a hub for the water industry. So just a little closer zoomed in of the aerial of our main campus. Also got a demonstration area. So my title is technology and workforce development. So one of the components of my job is looking at new and emerging technologies in the water industry to help advance and make things more efficient. So we do that by demonstrating technologies, trying out proof of concepts, things like that. But then the other component, the other passion that I have is workforce development and training. And essentially not only helping the folks that are already in this industry, but getting out into the schools, high schools, colleges, and working with, folks that may not even realize this as a career for them. There may be some folks that are going to college or not going to college. We have opportunities for both sets of individuals. So really excited about our workforce development program that we're putting together, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. So kind of our vision is reimagining the future of water. On this earth, there's a certain amount of water, and, it is available to us as a resource. How we utilize that resource and protect it depends on the quality of it for future generations. So we definitely want to kind of reimagine that and focus on how we can impact that in a positive way. So the water tower is based on what we call the 4 pillars. The first of which is applied research, technology innovation, workforce development, and community engagement. So within those 4 pillars, we want to try and change the shape of the water industry. Applied research allows us to find those new innovative ways, those new treatment technologies, those new methods. Technology innovation allows us to advance processes and advance things into the next level of treatment from just your basic, automation onto full-scale automation or digital twins and things like that. Of course, the workforce development component is, growing the workforce. The water industry is facing something like many other industries where there are more folks retiring and leaving the industry than entering the industry. And part of that is kind of a lack of education with us telling folks about the industry. There's a lot of people that really don't know about the opportunities there. So we want to try and, mend that gap, so to speak, and get out there and kind of be the face for the water industry and let folks know about the opportunities that are available, as well as community engagement. So we want to be good stewards of our resources and environment. We also want to engage with the community and get them involved and, kind of show them what actually happens when they turn on the faucet and water comes out, or, when water goes down the drain, where does it go? It doesn't just disappear. So there's people behind that actually making things happen. So, we do a lot of different things with the community for that aspect as well. This is kind of like our little slide we have together that puts those 4 pillars and just kind of talks about, what each of them mean to us and what we're trying to achieve with each of them. So with applied research, we have collaborative research to solve practical problems, both locally and globally. With workforce development, we're trying to enhance the capabilities through classroom and field training to improve work quality and resource satisfaction. We also want to foster and facilitate creation of new technology and transform efficient effectiveness of that technology, and then demonstrate this stuff to the public. Let them know what we're doing, let them know about the industry, and let them know about the different ways that they can get involved. So our goal is, we're going to have world-class facilities, real-world applications and test conditions, and then strategic and collaborative partnerships. So essentially what all that means is, a lot of times when folks are doing research and stuff for the water industry, they're basically doing it on, a lab scale, really small. They don't really have a lot of opportunities to test out different parameters. They have to buy reagents and buy things and kind of do a lot of, theoretical things. Well, what we're doing here, we have live flows coming from the F. Wayne Hill Water Resource Center, which is located right down the road from us. And with that, they'll be able to, actually test live flows and actually test conditions and test what would happen under certain conditions and certain circumstances. We're really excited about that. And then, working on those partnerships to advance research throughout the whole industry, whether it's watershed, whether it's working with Lake Lanier, reservoir, stormwater mitigation, any of those things. So with our technology innovation, we want to be a demonstration and validation source. So if someone has an idea for something, they started in their garage or their basement, and they really want to test it out, maybe have a proof of concept, we provide that space for them to come in, connect their technology to live flows or to utilize live data and actually test it out and work on it, tweak it. And then also through our strategic partnerships, have opportunities for them to advance their product and maybe even sell it to an industry or an industry partner with them to grow that. So that kind of ties in with the workspace support and then our connections for critical development. So with our workforce development, one of the things that has always been a passion of mine is like making sure folks are trained appropriately. In our industry, there's kind of been an issue where you would get a new employee that would be trained by a more senior employee who would train them the things that they need to know, but sometimes they'd also teach their bad habits or teach, some other things that they probably shouldn't do. And so one of the things that we're focused on is our field training center, where we'll actually be able to bring folks in and train them hands-on and train them the appropriate way, almost like in a college style setting. So if you're a heavy equipment operator, you can come in, be trained on heavy equipment, learn how to operate it, how you're supposed to operate it per the manufacturer specifications, all the safety requirements. And then when you complete the course, you're fully functional and you can go hop on whatever piece of equipment you need to and perform your job without having to worry about, not knowing, or without you worrying as the employer, not knowing whether that individual knows how to operate the equipment or not. We also have a career pipeline through recruitment. So we're focused on, with our partners, both utility and industry, we're able to work on placement, job placements, internships, apprenticeships, all kind of things like that. Another really cool thing that we are working on right now is a work study program. So we have 2 work study programs that are going to be kicking off in the fall. One of those is going to follow along the school year, and it will be for those like junior, senior years of high school, where if they come through the work study program, of course, they'll do, their school portion, but then the other half of their day, they'll spend time with us doing training. And then they'll also spend time working in one of the facilities, actually learning hands-on how to do the job. And at the end of that 9 months, they will be ready to sit for a state certification and can actually get a license to become a state certified operator in the state of Georgia. Added to that is the availability to have job placement immediately with one of our utility partners, because I spoke a minute ago about how all the utilities are facing strain on trying to hire in and get trained employees in. So we're going to have that pipeline where not only we're training folks, but we're helping them get placed as well. The other one is a little bit faster program. It's a 4-month program, and it's for individuals that are kind of in that 18 to 30-year-old range, where they may have already graduated high school or may have, not graduated but got their GED, and they still are kind of not really, they haven't found a career yet. They need a place to land. So having the opportunity to come through and do our 4-month training program, they still kind of complete the same requirements, are able to sit for an exam, and once they pass their state exam, then they can be placed in a job through one of our partner utilities or one of the partner industries. So it's really good. It kind of helps the industry because we're bringing folks into the industry, but it also helps, that group that I don't want to say like they're kind of lost, but maybe they don't really know what they want to do yet. They haven't found a career, and this can give them a place where they can, make a good earning, a good salary, and still go to school if they want to go to school, or, work towards, branching off and doing something different. Kind of in my bio, I started out, basically come in, I was a trainee, I got my certifications, but I kind of wanted more. I've always been that individual that always strives for more. So I always was looking for something else to do, something more to do, and just kind of worked my way up through management. And then once, as a manager, I realized, I really like helping people. I really like helping people realize their potential and, helping them go on to do other things. And so that's kind of what spurred me to really have that passion with the water tower. So this is just a slide kind of showing, work study programs, apprenticeships, internships, co-ops, basically from GED to PhD. It doesn't really matter where you're at in life. If you're interested in looking for an opportunity in the water industry, we have a spot for you. So community engagement, talked about that a little bit earlier, but essentially peers, partner, and public. So just really getting the word out about the water industry, what it actually is, what it means when you turn the faucet and water comes out, or when water goes down the drain, where does it go? But it also expands further out to, even rain barrel projects and just different things that we can engage with the community about and just kind of educate them on water as a whole. So this is our team right here. I'm right here on the end. Going left to right, you have Melissa Meeker, our CEO, Kristen Vanden Heuvel, who is my counterpart. She splits up the other two pillars. So I'm technology and workforce development. She's applied research and community engagement. So we, between the two of us, split up the 4 pillars. And then we have our office manager, Peggy, which we probably couldn't survive without her and her making sure we stay on our calendars. So that is real brief water tower and kind of who we are, what we're doing. Now I want to kind of quickly get into just talking about wastewater treatment a little bit. Essentially, when water goes down a drain or you flush a toilet or, going through the shower, it's got to go somewhere, right? Because it can't just magically disappear. So there's these really awesome places called water reclamation facilities or water resource centers. Just right down the road from us, we happen to have one of the most advanced in the Southeast that really takes treatment to the very next level. So I'm going to spend a few minutes kind of talking about that and how that ties into the science and technology. Looking right here, this is a picture of the biological component, which is one of the main components of wastewater treatment. Without knowledge of science, it is really hard to effectively run this facility. We have computers and probes and all kinds of automated systems, but essentially without folks pulling samples and performing analysis on it and really understanding what different stages of the biology mean with nitrification cycle and how phosphorus is precipitated and how cells are lysed and different things like that, it's really hard to effectively run one of these facilities and get good efficient treatment. So really and truly, when I started working in this industry, I wish that I would have paid more attention in my science class because I had to go back and learn things, in which college helped me out with that a little bit. But focusing on the biology side of things is really how we treat things. We essentially take what happens naturally, what nature does, but we speed the process up. So if you think about, denitrification, and if you think about how, if you left a pile of leaves or a compost pile and it sits there for a while and kind of what that does over a period of time, what that turns into, how that breaks down, we kind of mimic that and we create an environment here so that we use the biology to do the treatment for us, to remove the pathogens, to remove the nutrients that we need to remove, like phosphorus and ammonia that are harmful to release back to receiving streams. So F. Hill, the capacity of the plant is 60 million gallons per day. Their average flow is about 33 to 35 right now, and they're an award-winning facility. They take treatment to one of the highest levels possible. Your traditional wastewater treatment plant has screening to kind of move out big stuff at the very beginning of the plant, and then typically they'll have settling, and then you'll have your biological basin, which is what I showed you a minute ago. You'll have these big tanks right here, which are secondary clarifiers. So after the biological treatment, we give it time to settle out. So there's that solids liquid separation. Solids settle at the bottom, the liquid goes up to the top, and then we take the liquid, filter it, disinfect it, move it on down the line. And then we take the solids and we treat them. And then they typically are composted, go to a landfill, or there's various other ways that can happen. And that's pretty much wastewater treatment as a whole. But with F. Wayne Hill, they take it so many steps further. So after secondary treatment at F. Wayne Hill, it goes through filtration, some more settling, some more filtration, a pre-disinfection, some more filtration, and then a post-disinfection. And essentially with all that level of treatment, you basically have a water plant on the back of a wastewater plant. So the water is actually treated to the level of drinking water quality at F. Wayne Hill. And we're very happy about that, kind of proud of how, that level of technology and treatment that goes. So we have advanced process equipment. So everything in the plant is, automated. It's essentially designed so that it can run itself. We don't let it run itself. We have somebody there checking up and making sure, because as we all know, technology fails. So we always need that human interaction, making sure that, things are taking place as they should. Definitely committed to maintaining high standards. So not only do we need to treat the water, but with Gwinnett County, they have a commitment to resource recovery. So the state will issue a permit for a wastewater treatment plant and tell you can release, this much phosphorus, this much ammonia, this much BOD, this much solids back into the environment. But what many places do, they strive to meet their permit and that's it. Well, with Gwinnett County and the high standards they have, they looked at other ways. Okay, so we need to remove phosphorus, we need to remove nitrogen. But what are those things? Well, phosphorus and nitrogen, those are components of fertilizer. Well, is there a way to not only remove it, and instead of sending it to a landfill, can we recover it and actually use it somewhere else? So through their partnership with Crystal Green, they've actually came up with a way to remove the ammonia and remove the phosphorus out, turn it into a fertilizer aid that can then be used. So just that further resource recovery where, we're trying to utilize every aspect of the treatment process possible to keep everything from, getting to the lakes and the streams. Because although the state may allow a certain amount of ammonia, a certain amount of phosphorus to go into a lake, if we can remove even more of that and keep it from going back into the lake, then we're a lot better off. We also have a station here for high strength waste. So fats, oils, and grease, that's a huge problem in our industry with clogs, with pipes clogging. And even in the homeowner side, your sink pipe, your drains clogging your house, and you're having to get somebody to come out and take care of that. So instead of that just going and kind of being dumped and processed as is, we actually utilize that for our anaerobic digestion process. It creates even more methane that we can then use through cogeneration to help power the plant. So there again, just another way that we're taking, a resource, something that would typically be a waste material, and we're renewing that and using that and allowing that to, be an even further resource instead of an impediment. So laboratory procedures. One of the biggest things in wastewater treatment is the lab. So we have permit labs so that we can make sure we meet our permit, but then we also have to do process checks. And the reason for the process checks is to make sure that each piece of equipment is working like it's supposed to work. So within the laboratory, they really pride themselves on their QA, QC checks using blanks and standards and making sure that, each batch of samples, they're getting accurate results from that. And then they do those process checks at multiple intervals throughout the entire day. And then they also take that data and they trend it. So not only do they collect the data and record it, but they're constantly looking at it and they're seeing based on the trends, okay, does this filter media need to be changed now because we're starting to trend up in our solids? Or, is this part of the process need to have more oxygen or less oxygen? Or do we add more chemicals? Do we take chemicals away from it? So all that comes from the laboratory procedures. So we really have a good team of folks that are kind of focused on the lab and the science behind everything and making sure that the plant runs like it needs to run. So next, I'm going to show a really quick slide on phosphorus analysis. It's just a sample that we do just to make sure that we're removing the phosphorus. Typical plant loading will have a phosphorus come in of between 20 and 30 milligrams per liter. Most permits require you to get that down to 0.10 or 0.08 milligrams per liter. So that's a pretty huge jump there that you have to remove within your plant. So you have to make sure that, your plant's operating optimally so that can happen. Well, with in the lab, most lab instruments have a very small range, a very tight tolerance of reading that, especially with some of the spectrophotometry that we use. So we have to dilute samples in order to make sure that we're getting the most accurate result out of that without going past the band that it's able to read in the instrument. So this is a very short video just kind of showing that sample dilution and how that happens. And hopefully the technology won't fail me. Can you hear the volume on that? No? Okay, hold on one second. I think I know what the problem is. I apologize. Still no audio? All right.
But do we need audio? Or is it more visual?
So I tell you what, I can kind of talk about it as we play through it. How about that? And I apologize for that. There may be something with me trying to play it through PowerPoint over Zoom. All right.
Can you hear me, Chad?
Yes.
If you're gonna narrate this, can you do it in a Sir David Attenborough voice?
I wish I could.
Okay.
All right, so basically what I'm saying here, kind of in my overview, I'm just telling you that, you know, sometimes it's necessary to dilute a sample in order to get the most accurate result. Right here, we're taking a phosphorus sample. You can see the one that's on the right there is over range. It doesn't look like it's too dark of a blue, but it's actually enough of a blue color that it's over range. So what we do for our dilution is we typically take 100 milliliter graduated cylinder. We fill it up with 80 milliliters of DI water, deionized water, and then we use 20 milliliters of sample. Then we invert that to get a good mixture back and forth in another graduated cylinder. And after we've done that, and we've got a well-mixed sample, we pour it up into our cuvette, and then we add our reagent. So for this particular test, we have to have a reagent to kind of complete a chemical reaction. So we add the reagent, and then we mix it. One of the things that I talked about was depending on the type of analysis that you're performing, different analyses require different mixing methods. So some require a swirl and some require an actual shake. So it's important to make sure the analysis that you're performing, that you're mixing it appropriately in order to get the best result. So we then blank the instrument out, kind of get it to a 0 reading. And then after that, we read our sample. Once we get the reading from our sample there, we take our dilution factor and do our calculation and get our actual result. So it looks like there was some cropping also kind of in this presentation, but basically if you saw the number, it was like 1.18. We had a dilution factor of 20, so it ended up being like 23 was the actual number. So you can kind of see where the dilution is really vital for reporting the most accurate number, because there's a large difference between 23 and 1.18. So if you're doing a report, you wrote down 1.18 and your value was actually 23, then you would totally be missing the mark. So that's just another reason why we do dilutions inside the lab. One of many things that are done in a wastewater lab each and every day. So kind of a goal of Gwinnett County is providing superior water services at an excellent value. So they really pride themselves on being as innovative as possible, but also being good stewards of the resources that they have. So they're a really great partner for us. We enjoy working with them, and they're actually one of our main, pipelines for employees. So as we have folks coming through our work study program, they'll spend some time with me and some of the other trainers, but then they'll also actually spend time at one of the Gwinnett facilities getting their hands-on training. So they'll actually learn in an actual plant, in an actual facility, in an actual lab. And from that, they can receive certification, or they can decide one of the many other different ways to have a career in the water industry. A lot of times folks talk about, operations and maintenance because they're the most crucial in the water industry. But I mean, the water industry needs attorneys, they need financial folks, they need business folks. So you can have a student that may be interested in a completely different field, but they still could have a career in the water industry. So that's one of the things I always like to point out. I haven't been to a career day in a while because of COVID, but before COVID, we were going out to high schools and college and career fairs and actually speaking to folks. And that's one of the things that I always did was I brought up, okay, well, what are you interested in? Because typically, regardless of what they're interested in, we can typically tie it to the water industry as a whole and show them how they can do what they're interested in, but actually still have a career in the water industry. So I kind of blaze through a lot of stuff. Typically, when I do our normal presentation, it takes over an hour, and that doesn't even include talking about the F. Wayne Hill stuff. So I tried to chop and cut and fit everything in. So I don't know if there may be any questions or anything that I might need to go over again. I'm happy to do that.
This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. I wish we had more time, actually, but we have to move on to our next session. So I'm thinking that if there are questions, if you guys want to send them to me, I can send them to Chad and we can get some answers.
Absolutely.
But before this room closes, if anyone wants to try to throw out an answer in the next or a question in the next 20 seconds, feel free.
Yeah, can you do video field trips because I teach AP environmental and this is on our curriculum.
Actually, that's one thing we're working on is video field trips. We're working on 3D tour. We do actually still do small field trips. So for groups of 10 or less, we're doing field trips. We're hoping to be able to expand that and open that back up in the future. But I'm actually one of the main tour guides, if you will, for F. Wayne Hill. So a lot of times when you do a tour, you'll actually do that with me. So, but we're very happy to do the tours and, and things like that, and hoping soon to have those virtual offerings available as well.
Thank you. Well, thank you again. People are getting pulled out and assigned into their teams right now, but Chad, thanks so much for joining us. And I have a feeling I'll be circling back. Oh, you still there with a few?
Yes.
With a few more questions. So thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
You're welcome. All right. So I think the rest of you guys that are left here will be joining Trisha Peterson as your master instructor. So I'm just going to assign you guys over there. Let's see, make sure. Yeah. Okay. Are you able to see the other rooms to join? No, not yet. Okay, so everyone should have been assigned. If you go down to that 4 squares at the bottom, will have a request to join. And then you'll just click on join. It's at the very bottom of your screen.
I don't see anything at the bottom of my screen.
Do you see 4 squares for breakout rooms?
Nope.
Hover your mouse over the bottom and see if it pops up.
I don't have it.
I don't either.
Okay. Just a sec. Stephanie, did you see your invite?
I'm with Trisha Peterson now, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, perfect.